Planning and monitoring iterations on an Agile project. This is the 5th course out of 8 of the Agile PMI-ACP Agile Certified Practitioner certification program. In an Agile project, planning occurs before each iteration starts. An iteration planning meeting should typically last for 1 or 2 hours per week and should include the product owner, Agile project manager or Scrum Master, and the development team. During iteration planning, the participants adjust the priorities of user stories and estimate the development team's velocity. They then develop an iteration goal, select user stories, break the stories down into tasks, and estimate these tasks. The 3 key outputs of an iteration planning meeting are the iteration goal, an iteration backlog, and an iteration schedule. During iteration planning, an Agile project team follows 3 steps to create an iteration backlog. First, the team splits any overly large user stories into multiple smaller stories. Each story should be independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. Next, the team breaks each user story down into development tasks. Each task should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-boxed. Finally, the team estimates the effort required to complete each task, generally using ideal hours. To help ensure that an Agile project will be completed on time, you can use various types of buffers, including feature, project, feeding, and resource buffers. To calculate a suitable project buffer, you can use the critical chain method or the square root of the sum of the squares method. Alternatively, you can simply add average case estimates for tasks or user stories and divide the result by 2. For large, complex projects, project leaders should facilitate iteration planning by using a rolling look-ahead approach, making plans for the next few iterations at a time. They should also communicate conditions of satisfaction for user stories before the relevant iterations start, and establish feeding buffers between tasks that are critically dependent to absorb any delays. Monitoring progress in an Agile project involves assessing the end results of iterations in terms of customers' requirements, rather than comparing planned and actual progress. On a daily basis, an Agile team uses stand-up meetings to track its progress and any obstacles. In addition, a team may use an iteration backlog, task board, and burn-down charts to track its progress during an iteration. Managers and other stakeholders may also track progress using a burn-up chart. Agile project release plans should be constantly updated to reflect the work completed in a project, changes to requirements and priorities, and any revised estimates. When updating release plans, you should monitor the team's velocity and the frequency of unfinished user stories. You can monitor and report project progress at the release level using release burn-up and burn-down charts, parking load charts, and defect reports. This course has 2 main sections. After completing the first one, called Iterative Planning and Estimating, you will be able to understand activities that take place during an iteration planning meeting, identify the outputs of the iteration planning meeting, recognize the steps for creating an iteration backlog, calculate the buffer for a given set of project tasks, and pinpoint the appropriate actions to take when planning iterations for a complex project. After completing the second section, called monitoring and reporting project work, you will be able to recognize the tools that are used to monitor progress during an iteration, identify project information that should be updated in a release plan, and interpret project release information using various types of charts. And after going through all the training videos, exercises, quizzes, and why not, the optional and very simple project, you will be ready to continue to course number 6 of the Agile certification program. Next, you will have an overview of the whole program, and just before digging into the actual content, a short presentation of the options offered by Udemy for a better learning experience.